Great stuff on there.
I have heard that a thumbs up can get you in trouble in some places.
Yeah, I think this was the okay. I think it was the what we would say is okay. I think that was considered obscene in Greece, but I was going to ask Liz about it and I never remembered to.
I can't remember if that's 3 or 1 in sign language. My brain is not helping me today. 1, 2.
Hello.
Hi, Alex.
3, 4.
You really killed that last trivia.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
congratulations. You did a great
Yes.
job.
Sign language, woo. Okay, yay.
Well, it's a good thing that we know your mom and that we know that she did not help you. I mean, there would be some kids that we might go, okay, well, what do we do? Did mom help?
Oh, a couple times I was sitting there near him and he like hits the answer on the phone, shouts out the answer, and I just sit there and he's like, I already clicked it, Mom. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is another of our focused fan chats. And we are going to talk about life choice. If you had been one of the refugees on the ARC ships, would you have chosen civilian or cadet, and why? Anne, I'm going to start with you.
Civilian.
Why?
I'm a pacifist.
Okay.
It's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. I would love to be able to be a cadet, but it's just not me. I just, I would not have fun
Killing people.
flying around shooting at things.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd be sort of like Dawn, wanting just whatever the Atlantean version of a chicken farm.
Yeah, I don't know about a chicken farm, but yeah. Yeah,
Alex,
what
about you?
I would have to say civilian.
Alex, you're a kid.
Oh,
What would you do?
Huh? What?
Civilian or cadet? You have a life
Oh.
choice.
Okay, hold on. Cadet.
Why?
Because personally, I've kind of always had a little interest in military. And I think it'd be interesting to get to learn about different planets military and see how they work.
You'd flying a spaceship wouldn't have anything to do with it, would it?
No. That's fun too, but no.
Well, even civilians got to learn how to fly.
Yeah, exactly. Because, they got to fly like the shuttles and stuff.
I mean, they have, civilian shuttle pilots.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Although I don't know if I'd go SCP. I might just go with the Imperial Fleet.
Oh,
So it
really?
depends.
You wouldn't want to go with the international?
Not 100% sure yet.
You have time to decide.
Exactly.
You got to finish fleet school before you make your final decision. but-
Yeah.
Finish what school?
Fleet school,
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I didn't quite hear the first part.
fleet
so-
cadet school. You'd have to, you have to finish school first and then you can decide.
Yeah.
Kathleen, what about you?
Well, I'm too old to be either, but I think I would have wanted to be a cadet. Not so much for the military aggressive side, but for the leadership side.
Did any of the characters' choices surprise you?
A couple, but I'm trying to remember who they were.
On Rhonda a little
Me
bit.
too.
Hasmic. That one was kind of surprising.
What, that she chose civilian?
Yeah.
Really?
I
And why is
definitely could
that?
have seen her going cadet. Especially because, she definitely struck me as the kind of person who'd go cadet just because, of a lot of things. I don't like being put on the spot.
Well, you're not on the spot. There's just us. I mean, we've all talked to you before. We're like aunts and grandmas and.
Yeah, I'm just not good at being put on the spot by anyone, even if I know
I
them.
think I think, Alex, what you are trying to say, and I know you because I've known you for 14 years, is that she's got that mental toughness. And you could
Yes. Yes.
totally see her just
Thank you.
being very, even though she's not loud and flashy and aggressive, just being very strong.
Yeah.
Well, she does have a strength of character. You know, she went through qualification, you know, the first part at the RQC with a sprained ankle, and she did not miss a class.
Yep.
I
Would not
mean,
recommend doing that.
well,
Sounds like a horrible idea.
It's not a good idea. I mean, she could have injured herself even worse, but she was determined that she was going to do it.
Yep.
There were probably a few that, you know, that got injured and they couldn't make it. So they were immediately disqualified.
That's the thing, though. That's the key, because if it's a choice between perhaps injuring yourself worse or getting disqualified and dying, you might be willing, obviously, most people probably would be willing to make that choice to keep on going and hope that somehow they can get through it rather than saying, I give up, I'm just going to go die.
Well, and at the end of the semifinals, the candidates did not know that they were going to be healed.
No,
That's true. Gwen was saving her sister. That the entire thing, as soon as she and Gracie reconnected, that's what she was focused on, saving her sister, getting her sister up there.
And if she didn't qualify, that was fine, as long as Gracie did. Because
I think
Gwen is
Gracie-
very, Gwen is
Gracie-
very family focused.
I think Gracie's choice was the one that surprised me, that she went military.
Oh, that did surprise
She
me
went
at all.
cadet.
That one didn't surprise me either.
That one didn't, Gracie didn't surprise me because she wanted to stand out on her own.
Yeah.
She's the youngest child. She's always been Gwen's little sister, George's little sister, and she's always been the little sister of somebody. She's never been her own person.
She's always been what's that movie? Dottie's sister.
Dottie's sister, yes, that's right.
It's like, this is our daughter, Dottie. This is our other daughter, Dottie's sister.
Ah, League of Their Own.
Yes.
Okay.
Now I got it.
By the way, her name was Kit, says the second child.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, I forgot.
Stinker.
But
I had
you're right.
forgotten that was
was
from-
that was the
Yeah.
only way that she was going to stand out on her own. Now, Gordy, yeah, civilian.
That
Yeah, that did.
I don't know that I entirely agree with that, because there's a lot of regimentation in the military, especially when you first come in. And you don't often get an opportunity to really stand out because they're kind of browbeating people into obedience. At least on the Earth military, I don't know how Atlantean military would be.
I would think it would be about the same, but
I would
then
think
there was
so.
also the opportunity for her to be able to excel in something.
But you could
And
probably
really just to be
do
her
that
own
as a civilian
person,
as well.
period.
I don't necessarily see it as only available through the military. She had a certain amount of drive, and certainly, you know, the fact that she was excited about the blades and the red quadrant and everything like that led you to believe that was something that she might embrace. But I think given the opportunity, she could very well have stood out as a civilian too. She just-
I don't know. I mean, that you're right. That is quite possible, but I think it was the lure of the blades and what the military could offer is probably what made her decision.
Yeah, her decision didn't surprise me. I was just thinking that it wouldn't necessarily have been immediately obvious to her that
Yeah, I got
she
shocked.
wouldn't be regimented and just, you know, I mean, everybody did have to go through that
Well,
basic
It
training.
really- A lot of it has to do with when you say cadet, you assume it's all like red quadrant military, and it isn't. You know, you can be a cadet and be any of those personalities. And I mean, what quadrant was Gracie? I can't remember.
Red.
She was red.
She read?
Mhm.
But I mean, we even saw the seeds of that in preliminary quals, you know, when she did the little test at the school, and she picked that blade right away, and she was like, and I would use it too. Like you even saw that little seed of aggression in her. So it really didn't surprise me. And, you know, she enjoyed her time in the red quadrant dorms and qualification. And it just seemed very natural to me that she would go cadet, even being young by any
Yeah,
standard.
and she's during qualification, she said like, you know, we're the warriors. So yeah, maybe not so surprising. And it's definitely the reason, definitely why the regimentation that you're talking about, it's one of the reasons I would never have gone I would never have chosen cadet, because that's not something I would have handled very well.
I would have probably flipped a coin at that age.
Mhm.
I could have gone, although I am extremely unathletic. I mean, I was probably worse than Gwen. There's just something about what the military had to offer versus what the civilian life had to offer. There were more opportunities as a cadet for higher education. You could, you know, you spend your X number of years, you could possibly retire and still get another job. You know, kind of like here, but we really, but you're right. I mean, it was all the four quadrants. I mean, look at Alala. You
Well,
know,
look
as
at
a yellow,
Asen.
He's blue.
Well, Ace in the
Mhm.
military actually makes sense because he was already living a regimented life. So
And,
dealing
mean,
with the
I
regimentation of
often-
cadet school wasn't an issue for him.
I often wonder how he would have grown up had he not been in the military.
Might have looked like his father.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been very browbeaten
Mhm.
and bitter. At least that's my opinion.
See, I'm kind of a weirdo because at the age that I would have been to qualify, so, you know, between the ages of 12 and 19, I would have chosen cadet in a heartbeat, no brainer. But looking from my perspective now, I would absolutely have totally pulled it on and just been like, hey, no, I want to settle down, I want to get a good job, and I want to raise Atlantean chickens. And I do think it's kind of a matter of perspective, so that it's interesting with them pulling in teens who are, you know, young, they're unattached, they're, you know, they don't have kids. It is a very different perspective. So I could see a lot of those teens, especially having had a taste of qualification, you know, being like, hey, I could be okay with, you know, going fleet. But yeah, nowadays I'd be like, oh yeah, civilian. I don't care if I'm a second class citizen. I just want my chickens.
It's amazing how, as we get older, those perceptions do change.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I actually agree with that because when I was in my senior year in high school, maybe even my junior year in high school, I actually went down and talked to an Air Force recruiter because I thought, you know, I can learn a lot about technology. I can travel the world. I can, you know, it was actually a very attractive sort of future that I saw.
Yeah, I actually almost went in the military.
Yeah.
And
I was a midshipman.
I was an
in
athlete
ROTC.
at that point, but that was 100 years ago.
Go
But
back
actually,
to
I'd
it.
like to add my choice. I want to be a citizen.
No.
Okay, fair.
Okay, Alex, the thing
Changed
is,
your mind.
citizen can be a civilian or a cadet. So it's not really an option.
I know.
Like,
I was
Gwen
just
made,
silly.
Gwen made it an issue. No, I want to be a citizen. Well, no, you've still got to choose either, you know, civilian or cadet. You can work on citizenship, but
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
she made it seem like it was a third choice, and it really, it wasn't her mind.
Mhm.
but
That's
she
just
didn't.
not.
There's more of
Quite
that
how
out of the box thinking.
Yeah, she just, she didn't know that, Asen had these plans for her. And at that point, he was still toying with the idea, okay, well, should I do this or should I do that? And well, yeah, I could marry her and I could do my husbandly duty until, she bears me some children. I could stand it, as long as I don't get emotionally involved.
Do I do
What
what I
kind of
want
life
and
is
piss off
that,
my
you know?
dad? Yeah, exactly.
And he would have become just like his dad,
Yeah.
which makes you wonder and makes you admire Devorah even more. Because she genuinely loved that man.
Yeah, with all his faults.
Well, I'm sure he
But
didn't
she
have
was such a
quite
loving person.
all of them to begin with, though, but once you love somebody, sometimes it's harder to see their faults developing too, that it's way easier to see them from the outside than the inside. But
And
yes.
she may not have known about all of his faults because it seemed like he didn't talk to her all that much. And if he developed a lot of those over the course of years, he probably never told her.
No, she was, they were not true life partners.
Yeah, they weren't.
Whereas Asen and Gwen, I think that was why she was just so thrilled when she met Gwen and go, okay, well, you know what? I can look at my son and see that he absolutely adores you. And I can look at you and see that you absolutely adore him. You guys are perfect for each other.
Mhm.
And I am so happy that, you have this relationship. And then I'm thinking I wish I had that in my life,
Mhm.
Well,
but she
Devorah and
didn't.
Rob weren't even a love match. They were a political match. They weren't a love match.
Mhm. Right.
And that's something that just wasn't done as a rule.
Mhm.
It was allowed,
That's why
but
it
it
was so
wasn't
weird when
done.
Asen did it.
Huh?
That's why it was so weird when Asen did it. I mean, who was it? The Oratora of Eoseket even? That like she commented on it. She's like, whoa, a love match. What happened here? Like, she was
I
Mhm.
thought that
What?
Cassiope's life was prepared for him from life to death, but I guess I misheard. Something
Yep.
like that.
I
That
like
was close
this
enough to
kid. He's
lie.
just like me.
He's also just like
Knows
me.
where to find the stuff, knows where to look it up and find the stuff.
I was going to say,
Oh,
even in 2023, the political matches for marriage, not even political, but the political ones exist, but there's other ones where like the parents decide, kind of thing where,
Different cultures, sure.
Pardon?
In many cultures.
Right. Yeah. I was going to
Yep.
say where the people getting married have no say in it, although, luckily in some cases they're beginning to have more of a say. Sometimes the parents are like, well, we think you two should get together. And if they go, no, then they don't have to get married. But
I know it still is the case in Great Britain. The ruling monarch must approve of all matches.
up to a certain lineage though.
Well,
Yeah.
it's in order to, if they don't approve, then they lose their place in the line of succession.
Right.
So if she hadn't approved of William and Catherine, he basically would have been abdicating his place in line.
Yeah, but it only goes up to like a certain place in line that the queen has to approve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it only
Yeah.
goes to grandchildren.
It's something like that. Like, I think she had to approve Harry.
Yeah, she had to
but
approve Harry.
she didn't have to approve somebody.
Jenny and Beatrice.
I'm
Jenny and
thinking
Beatrice, I would imagine.
Eugenia, Eugenia and Beatrice, maybe she didn't have to do them, but
Yeah, they're
Probably
grandchildren.
not, because they were
Well, they
far
wouldn't have,
in
been-
line.
they would have been grandchildren.
right,
Right.
but they're not in the direct succession anymore because,
Yeah.
because Charles had kids and then his kids had kids. And so that booted them out of the line and made them
Mhm.
further down the line. So
That's true.
it's not just the grandkids. It's literally it's to the sixth or
Direct.
seventh place in the line of
Yeah.
succession. It's somewhere.
I know that Harry could possibly rule if Charles dies and then William becomes king and he dies before George is of legal age. then Harry automatically becomes his regent and
Yeah.
technically Harry's ruling.
Yeah, but
But is it just until George reaches of age?
Until George reaches
Yes.
majority age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I thought the regent had to be approved by parliament, so that might not, it might not be him.
Actually, it's already been approved, so
Oh, it has, okay.
it's their line of succession. Now, if William had not had a brother, then that might have, come into play.
yeah.
Can I ask a different question?
Oh, sure. Feel free.
Well, you guys are so much more expert at this than I am. Do we know what, or is this one of the things we'll find out later? Do we know what George ended up doing?
No. We
No,
will
not
find
yet.
out.
Yeah.
We will find out.
You mean his, you
But that
mean
hasn't
his
been hinted at.
profession once?
Yeah,
no.
well, he
You mean
can't
his
be a
profession
cadet,
once
so-
everything's over?
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
His profession, everything probably. Do we know more about George? And the answer is basically no.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. I mean,
Yeah,
we
that's
will
the
find
answer is-
out
We will, but not
possibly-
yet.
possibly in George's novella.
Okay.
We could possibly find out in the Book of Everything. But as of when Survive ended, George had not made a decision.
So he could even go back to Earth. We don't know. I mean, probably
Yeah.
not, but
Well, I
doubt it.
seriously doubt it, considering at the closeness of the Lark family.
Mhm.
His growing affections for a certain imperial princess.
But even without that, the family, the
It's
family tie would
the
be-
family is
there would
there.
be
The
nothing to
thing
bring
is-
him back to work.
Right, I
Unless he
mean,
had to
there's
leave a
nothing
girl
on
behind.
earth, there's nothing on earth to hold him there.
right. I'm just saying, we just don't know. We don't know
Right.
career
No,
wise.
we don't know. It's
I mean,
No,
we
we
have
don't.
a considered
suspicions
opinion.
who we might go together with and all that, but we just don't know, right?
Right.
I
No.
thought maybe you guys had some inside info.
Even if I had inside info, I wouldn't share it.
Okay.
Nope.
I actually did
He's
find
right on
Council,
And I don't,
I
so.
found Council Dave's suggestion.
And George
to be
remained on
very
Earth for a year
odd.
while the other people were heading for Atlantis. So
I
You know,
really
yeah,
wouldn't want to go
Morgan-
back to it the way it was, the way
but
it
certainly
was.
they weren't strong enough to keep him there.
Well, he
What were you
definitely
saying,
would have
Ellen?
gone to support his
I was,
father
I was
anyway.
saying, I found Council Dave's suggestion kind of odd, honestly. Like, I feel like George maybe would have still had a little bit of maturing to do before he would consider a career in diplomacy, because he
Mhm.
definitely still had, a lot of his own stuff to work through. So I was kind of surprised that the consul suggested that, but then again, he's a very observant and wise man. Maybe he saw
Well,
something I
he
didn't.
also thought that Gwen would do very well in that field in communication.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, saying that you're going to do well in a field doesn't mean you get to jump into a senior leader
No.
role. It just means I think you will be well suited for this. Come learn more,
Yes.
kind of-
I mean, we don't know who was teaching the Lark family about protocol. Chances are Council Denu did a lot, but they probably also had some dedicated tutors.
And the Atlanteans are also used to trying to give guidance to people at a very young age. I mean, look how early they start their own careers and their own,
Yeah,
on
they
the
started,
job
what,
work.
11
So
or 12?
start very young. So
George would have an awful lot of catching up to do,
Mm-hmm.
really, considering
Well,
his
and,
age. He was
you know,
been expected
plus-
to be much further along.
And, and Council Denu is such an observant man.
Yeah. I just feel like George had a lot of healing to do, because he
But
definitely.
And
George-
George did
George
have a
was
lot of
chosen.
healing to do. I mean,
Yeah.
he literally watched his mom die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only part of it. I mean, everything he went through, with the whole, obviously everybody on Earth was suffering trauma with the whole asteroid situation. And then to have his familial situation on top of that. And oh, by the way, he went all the way through qualification And the only reason he wasn't on that ARC ship was because most of his team died, which is another trauma. And yet he stopped by it to get his siblings on, so I mean, all the stuff he went through, and you could tell he had a lot of bitterness and a lot of pain that he was expressing in various ways. And I really feel like, dude, you got to work through your stuff before you can serve others.
Well, and also with George being green, he understands self-sacrifice, because that's basically what he did. I mean, he knew he wasn't going to qualify, and he was willing, although Gwen wouldn't let him do it, and she didn't realize it. If she had thought about it logically, she would have known, but she didn't. She always thought emotionally when it came to her family. George would have given Gracie every single point he had.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No reason not to at that point, because he was 90% certain he wasn't going to make it. So,
But yet he made sure that, okay, they're on there, they're safe. I can go home to mom and dad.
If he had made it on the ARC ship, what do you think he would have chosen?
Which book do you think we'll find out what happens with George?
Probably the
Well,
book of everything.
And he's getting a novella.
Yes, he is
as
getting a
well.
novella. So we may
That
find
may
out
be
more.
more along the lines of what happened on, we may learn more about what happened on the year he was on Earth from that, or that and his future.
Somebody asked which they thought he would do. Me, I don't think he would have picked a cadet. I think George would
I
have
don't either.
picked civilian.
I agree.
I agree.
I mean,
can't
he had
see that.
George, and I mean, Ellen's right. George had a lot of bitterness about all sorts of things. I mean, it wasn't just, he was just bitter about the whole situation.
Yeah, and I think he would have seen the military as just the source of a lot of that bitterness, so he wouldn't have picked it.
I mean, he wouldn't have picked the American military. So, I don't think he would have definitely not picked cadet for, but what would he do? I don't know. That's a good question.
Is the novella on George coming out before Book of Everything?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Oh, we don't know
I
the
don't
order.
Only
think
Vera
so, 'cause
knows
if you
how,
look at the
Only
order-
Vera knows when the books are going to come out. Right
And
now
what
she's working on
order.
Eos.
Yeah.
We just
She
know the
wants-
next two, right?
Well,
She
well,
wants
and
to
does she
finish Eos
really
by
know?
the end of this year.
Does she really know, or is it a matter of inspiration? If she gets an idea on a certain novella and say, this is the one I want to work on next, simply because this has come to me that this is what I want to write next too.
That
don't
has
think
something
Or
to
does
do
she
with
have it,
Or-
or does she have it laid out that I'm going to work on this one?
I
and this
don't think
one?
she plans that far in advance. I think
I wouldn't think so either.
I think that to a
The
certain
the
point, though,
novellas are
'cause, like,
supposed to be in between the big books. So I think she said she's gone, well, she's said a couple of different things. I think she said first that Zelio was going to be next. She's also thought about doing Bree next, but if she does Zelio first, she'll do Bree after that.
Folks,
those
believe
two
it or
are kind of
not,
the top
our
contenders.
time is up.
Oh, we're out of time already.
that went
Yeah, I
fast.
know, it was quick. Harry was reminding me. Very
Yeah.
subtly.
I thought you were trying to show us a text message. I'm like, I can't read that.
Just the time.
Time. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe I
that's-
should make a sign that just got
that's
the
what she
time.
meant, okay? So we have our next session.
7:30.
Yep.
Which would be fascinating.
Or
Will
Hollywood
be
Channel.
Hollywood.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Hollywood. So lots of guests that are showing up for that. So be sure and tune in.
And also one of the guests, it's her birthday. So
Woo.
we will make sure that we wish her a happy birthday.
Yep.
I did not know
All
that.
right, then, we will see you hopefully in a few minutes.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.